My name's Manus Carey. I'm Deputy Principal at the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester.
Yeah, I'm David Bahanovich, and I'm the Dean of Music at Trinity, Laban, Conservatoire, Music and Dance in London.
What is it that you look forward to? Why do you enjoy coming?
I think just the vibrancy of the event and actually the collegiate nature. We very rarely see each other, and I think that the real value is the exchange of ideas and to share all of our exciting developments and some of our struggles too, and to share it. So it's a really wonderful opportunity to get together and take the temperature of the industry as it is. And also, I'm delighted to be here representing higher education, as I have been since the first time I came to Classical Next, which was 2014 in Vienna. And I can just enjoy being a representative of higher education and how it intersects with the industry. Previously, I was involved in the industry, so I was straddling both those worlds. And so for me, I feel very, very comfortable coming to Classical Next because it caters to both the industry and higher education.
I think David speaks so eloquently, I'd say exactly the same thing. I think for me, it's two things. One is the people, and the fact that what you have here is a kind of melting pot of people from across Europe, from the UK, from the US, from Australia, and each in different kind of ecosystems musically. And I think it's the ideas that kind of, it gives you this sort of moments of inspiration where you can take stuff away and bring it home. And for us as well, working in higher education, I spent a long time working in the music industry, and it's that interplay. And because I think the future is very much about how we bring those two much, much closer together and kind of learn off each other and work together.
You bear a lot of responsibility as representative of the higher music education sphere, shaping the future generations and how that all then moves forward. You've just done a session on the need for change, but how?
One of the things I was really struck by listening to the feedback sessions were more on a kind of human level. So words that came up a lot were like trust. So is trust there? How do I create trust? How do I go about doing that? The word fear came up quite a lot. So fear of change. How do you get past that fear? The word relationship came up a lot, about how do you build relationships. So underneath all the sort of specific issues, and there are a lot of specific issues that need changing, developing, but underneath that, actually what I took away from this particular session, it's about human relationships and about human connection. And if we work on that kind of level, about building trust, building relationships, working through fear and risk, a lot of these problems will go away or be made better. So that was kind of my takeaway,
Yeah.
I think.
And I think that when we were building the session, we sort of knew that these were going to be some of the issues. And in the course of the session, we provided some interesting models and ways that they could approach those sorts of issues. And I think they were very comforted to see that the models that we were presenting were going to be of great use to them.
And the thing I think we were really struck by, and we've talked a lot about it as well, is you come to these conferences, you have some great chats, usually over wine or beer, the best ones, and actually, how do you move from the chat to the doing? And what tools do you need? What solutions can you find? And I think what we really particularly want to focus on that. Both of us have worked in industry and higher education for quite a long time, and what we're particularly interested in is moving from the great ideas, but putting an idea into action and actually moving forward.
How do you deal with reluctancy? How do you shake someone and say, no, we must change? How do you do it?
One of the models that we explored was something called the law of diffusion, where you actually take and celebrate the innovators in your organization, and you really resource them, take care of them, and it's a bell curve model. And so as you take those innovators and support them, the early adopters also come in play, and then it snowballs, and you end up you hit a tipping point, and the organization actually changes because everyone is terribly excited about what is happening in that particular area, and they want to get involved. So change really happens in this kind of very, very granular, organic way. And when it does this way, it oftentimes is quite lasting because there's the emotions behind the change. And people have to be excited and feel the change and want to be a part of it. And as much as we talked about how change oftentimes is driven by analytical and data-driven things, change really won't be lasting if it doesn't have the feeling and the emotion behind it.
It all goes back to a very human level in terms of how you create change. And I think as well, a lot of it is about storytelling. And often when you create change. If you create change the wrong way, you don't understand why you're doing it, and then you don't tell a story about why you're doing it. And I think when people don't like change, it's often because they don't buy into it, they don't understand it, they don't accept it from that point of view. And I think it is ultimately about telling a story that people can buy into. I think as well.
Yeah. Is the industry capable of change? Can it get there? Is it ready for it? Where are we?
Yeah. I'd say to that what I said at the end of our session was actually, we had, 50, 60 people, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, everybody in that room has the solutions that we need for any issues we have in the industry. There are amazing things happening. There are some things that need to develop and move forward. But we have all the solutions. We just need to get our ducks in the right order. We need to do all the things we've talked about building trust, building relationships, connecting on a human level. But we have all the solutions, and we have an extraordinary music industry, and there's brilliant things happening. So I have utter confidence that we can do.
Yeah, and I do also think that it's about the feelings and having people get emotional buy-in. And I think because many of us are artists and performers, we deal in the thing called emotions. So that is what we sort of barter. And I think that change can only happen when that emotional element is in there. And I think in that room, we felt very much that the emotional buy-in for change was there. They just needed guidance. They needed some basic scaffolding to help them enable the change. But I think the desire, and I think everyone appreciates that, we are at a very pivotal moment in the history of classical music. And I think 50 years from now, it'll be interesting what scholars will write about. It is an extraordinary time that we're living in the history of our art form. And it's a privilege to be at an institution, like Classical Next, where we're exploring these things. And I suspect that, scholars will, probably, archivists will look back and sort of say, okay, we needed to better understand this time and place and the forces that were involved. And I think that Classical Next may be able to provide these sorts of resources. Yeah.
I think I was just going to add to that as well. The thing that's come up again and again in the last few days is this relationship between musicians and the art form and being humans and being people, and it's all the same thing, but sometimes in our structures we sort of separate those. And to echo what you were saying, we need to kind of strip it right back to human relationships, and it just happens we do music, we might be doing something else, but I think if we can really think about that and build on that, is one of the most important things.
And the other last thing I'll add, we talked a lot about leadership, and change really can only happen with effective leaders who really have the ability to lead in a way where they can show their own vulnerability, that they can show their human side, and that they have this sense of benevolence and integrity to be able to lead the change. And I think that many of us who are interested in change will happily attach our chariot to those people who have the benevolence and the integrity.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.